It's my pleasure to welcome you to a very great event, the establishment of a new partnership, and as we all know, there is strength in partnerships. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Holmes, Mr. Armstrong, Ms. Easter, Dr. Glasgow, and Dr. Booth, all of whom are going to be partners with us in this great endeavor. As we all know, our nation has a major challenge. And the challenge is that we are not producing a sufficient number of scientists and engineers and others in the STEM areas. Well, there are two ways that you can approach opportunities. You can light candles or you can curse the darkness. We choose to light candles. And so we're happy to be here today to announce formally a partnership with Little Rock School District, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and the Corps of Engineers. And just as an aside, I got to say something about the Corps of Engineers, Ms. Easter, because we've been working together for a very long time. And Dr. Benjamin, it is because of them that I experienced whitewater rafting on the Arkansas River at the mouth of it, and also to travel on a road which was about the width of 1.5 cars, Dr. Holmes. On one side is a mountain, and on the other side was a 500-foot drop, taking me to Cripple Creek. And I told them that was the last time that I was going to be on that road. But anyway, it's my pleasure to bring you here today for this occasion, and at this time, we'll have remarks from Ms. Easter, who happens to be one of our graduates who entertained me many times at Rock Island. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I think I've met everyone in the room, but again, I'm Sandra Easter, and I'm the District Contracting Chief, Little Rock District Corps of Engineers. I am delighted to present this mutually beneficial partnership between the Corps and UAPB. This is a unique opportunity for the Corps to achieve a couple of initiatives. One will stimulate interest and academic achievement in science, technology, engineering, and math. And two, it allows us to competitively partner with historically Black colleges and universities in meeting our small business goals. We're planting seeds of hope into students who may become the next great leaders in science, technology, and engineering. This educational endeavor will broaden the Corps' STEM outreach. We want to further the education today so that we can have students available to solve engineering challenges of tomorrow. The Corps has approximately 39,000 dedicated civilians and soldiers delivering engineering services to customers in more than 90 countries worldwide. There are diverse career opportunities with the Corps in the fields of engineering and science. A brief profile of the Corps. The Corps energizes America's economy by keeping shipping channels open for navigation to support movement of critical commodities. Our lakes and dams play a critical role by generating power for homes and businesses, supplying water to nearby communities and farms, managing and reducing flood risk, and providing recreational opportunities to the public. We ensure flood and storm damage reduction, that it will not pose a threat, an unacceptable risk rather, to the public. And in times of disaster, our team responds to provide emergency assistance. We clean up sites of contaminated and hazardous, toxic, or radioactive water, as well as ordnance from past military activities. Lastly, the Corps works collaboratively to find balance among human, economic, and national systems. Lots of career opportunities for students. Pending your questions, that concludes my presentation of this partnership.
Good morning. I'm O.C. Duffy Jr., faculty member with the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And I would like to just share a little story with you about the Corps of Engineers in my past. It's important that each part of this partnership be very effective in what we are to do. As I look back in 1965, when I finally graduated from high school and came to college, it was my math and science teachers who gave me an interest to become a mathematician. I wanted to be a mathematician, so I enrolled at UAPB at that time, A&M College, to become a math major. My second year in college, there were 2 students selected to enter a partnership with the Corps of Engineers, Little Rock District, A&M College, which is now UAPB, and 2 students. Those 2 students were chosen based upon the academic achievement in the math program. Letters were sent out to the top 20 students, and fortunately, I was one of those students chosen to enter a cooperative education program with the Corps of Engineers, Little Rock District, A&M College. At that time, I really knew very little about engineering. Grew up on a farm, picked and chopped cotton. I guess the greatest motivation to me to become an engineer when they told me what I would earn when I graduated. I looked at my teacher's check before I left high school. In 1965, they were earning $2,100 a year. I'll never forget that. I was told, if you become an engineer, we can guarantee you, by the Little Rock District Corps of Engineers, $10,000 upon graduation. That was a lot of money to me. So I thought about it. I wrote the letter. And I knew when I ended my letter, I said, if I'm chosen as one of the students, the Lord has answered my prayer. And at that time, I knew I would be one of the chosen one. Harold Rofe and myself entered the program September the 12th, 1966, some 45 years ago. Now, during that 45 years, the Little Rock District had just started constructing the Kurt McGee Lock and Dam navigation system. I had an opportunity as a student. In fact, I was promoted to the division head to do the calculation of all the silt that was moved out of the Arkansas River. I actually walked in the bottom of the Arkansas River as we pumped the water to one area with the coffee dams to construct those dams. I had an opportunity to work with the Little Rock District, Shreveport, Dardanelle Resident Office, Pine Bluff Resident Office, even Rogers, Arkansas. This was back in the 60s and 70s. Thanks to Mr. Wooden, Colonel Bozlock was the district engineer at that time. Finally, in 1969, I received a letter from the United States Corps of Engineers, Little Rock District, stating that O.C. Duffy, you will transfer in September to the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville and enter the engineering program. I vividly remember that was the same time Dr. Lawrence A. Davis left and went to NASA. He left and went to NASA, I went to Fayetteville. Dr. Davis taught me physics and calculus as a student here. I tried my best to get out of his course because I wanted to take general physics because it was easier. He said, no, you go into engineering school, you must take university physics. I remember that as today. So September 12th, I get in my car that I didn't think would make it to Fayetteville, but I drove to Fayetteville. And I enrolled in the civil engineering department. To my surprise, when I got there, I looked around. I didn't see anything look like me, no student, no teacher. I was the only black person in the civil engineering department in 1969 as I enrolled in the engineering program. It was a challenge to say the least, but I'll say this. If the partnerships do what we are to do, as well as we can do it, we can have another success story. I eventually graduated in 1973 with a degree in civil engineering, was the first black to receive a civil engineer degree from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. I was also the first black to work with the United States Corps of Engineers in the Little Rock District in 1973. But as I look back at those partnerships, as I look at the strengths and I look at perhaps some of the weakness that took place along, UAPB was very supportive of me when I was here, and they prepared me to make that transition. The Corps of Engineers was very supportive. They sent me some places that I was the only one there in the whole town, but they were supported. Those evaluations that they performed made a difference between whether I continued to become an engineer student or whether I dropped out. They were fair and they were supported. However, this is the link we have to consider. Through this entire process, we must look at all links in all areas. When I got to my last part of the program, it was like being dropped from a parachute into an unknown land with little or no support. If we want these students to be successful, we got to make sure that we look at the system from the beginning to the ending and make sure that we do everything possible for them to become a professional engineer or technician at some point in time. That responsibility is left up to us. When I buy into something, those of you who know me, I give it all I got, my soul, heart, mind, body, and money. If I encourage a student to take this route, to say one day you will end there, it is our responsibility to make sure we remove every block in that student's way to make sure they have every opportunity possible to become the best they can become. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to stand here before you to let you know that on February 24th of this year, a seed was planted, very valuable seed was planted in Little Rock on the campus of Parkview Arts and Science Magnet High School. That seed was planted and is now ready to be cultivated. And these entities, those that are involved in this endeavor, are, of course, the Little Rock District Corps of Engineers, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, Little Rock School District by way of Parkview Arts and Science Magnet High School. The way I see it, the collaboration between these entities of this endeavor will serve no less than 4 purposes. One, the forum served as a serious motivator for those that are in pursuit of the American dream, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, by providing an above average income of about $65,000 for those that are seriously interested in pursuing those professions involved in STEM. 2, the second purpose, it will provide those that are underrepresented in the professions of STEM, it will provide them with a hand up the corporate ladder instead of providing them with a hand out from corporate America. Second, or third, it will serve as providing manpower, much needed manpower, to our ever-changing technological society. And last but not least, it will definitely ensure us of the fact that we as those that are underrepresented in this profession will be able to assist corporate America in their pursuit of highly trained workforce. And last but not least, I truly believe that as we partner together, that we, the 3 or 4 entities involved, will be highly appreciative of the effort that we're going to put forth in providing the much needed, should I say, manpower, as well as the needs of closing the gap that I found out nationally. 27.5% of Americans 25 years or older are without an undergraduate degree, whereas in the state of Arkansas, we have 18.9% of those that are 25 or older without a college degree. So can't do anything but close the gap. But with that said, we're excited about the partnership. That seed on the 24th, again, was a very valuable seed, and we look forward to working with all entities involved in this endeavor. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Hey, I stand before you this morning on behalf of 804 middle school students that are so very excited about the possibilities that has been presented to them. We hope that the students from Man Magnet that will transition to Parkview Arts and Science Magnet and eventually to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, you will have laid the foundation for those students. Now, the education department, we're going to take care of the science part, we're going to take care of the math part, and we're going to take care of the technology part for our students. We're going to entrust the engineering part to the governing agencies here. So on behalf of Horace Mann Arts and Science Magnet School, we are excited for the new partnership, and we look forward to working with you and on behalf of you. Thank you so very much.
It's my good pleasure, along with some colleagues, to be here this morning. Mr. Charles Armstrong, member of the board, and I'm superintendent of schools, Little Rock School District. And Mr. Armstrong has been nudging us on to move forward. I now began to understand, Dr. Davis, what the potentials are. It's good to be here with my fellow principals and Mr. Dennis Glasgow, who is Associate Superintendent of Accountability, but who is a science person. First of all, yesterday I was at an occasion, Dr. Davis. It was one of your distinguished graduates who passed on, Francis and A.C. Johnson. And I had to make some remarks. And one of my remarks was that about the great land-grant college of AM&N and the benefits of this great school. And what it has served for so long. I read a book several years ago. I'm talking about engineering, civil engineering. I think that's what it is. I don't have a science background. I have a little literacy in it. And by the way, I'm so happy. Mr. Armstrong, the board member, happens to be a Kappa. And I'm always in the company of a Kappa, and he brings other Kappas, and I'm diminished usually. But today, I looked down at Dr. Davis and said, Mr. It's all over. Two Omegas right behind you, and you're a dead duck in the water. So give it up. Dr. Davis, good you're here. And I always really, and I did mention your father yesterday, who knew very well what this school was about. And as a whole, even though I didn't go to school here, a whole bunch of us know that he knew what this school was about, and so do you, and we appreciate that. It's a part of a good history that's very important. I read a book by David McCullough. It's The Passage Between the Seas, and what it is, it's the Panama Canal and how it got cut to put together the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. I read the whole book. I'm a great reader of David McCullough. Most of you know he wrote 1776, the book on Abe Lincoln, and so happened it was The Passage of the Seas, and he went through all of the meticulous things that the French did. And most of us know that the French initiated the Panama Canal. It was not America. It was the French. The French put together, and Dr. Davis, the interesting thing I learned was how they put the financial package together. That's a whole nother piece. Big financial institutions, bonding, finance, insurance. And most of us know in this country, that's where the wealth lies, is once you do the science and once you do the physics, somebody's got to put together the financing and the bonding so that the money can roll. So I had an opportunity when I read the book, is to look at some very complicated financing and some complicated engineering. Most of us know that the French are some of the world's greatest engineers because they also did the Suez Canal. And so when you began to talk about civil engineering, the book became important. And the high society they live in, it also dealt with their corruption. It also dealt with how they came to the end and they couldn't pull it off. And that's when Theodore Roosevelt stepped in and finished the Panama Canal and took the credit for the Panama Canal. And it was Theodore Roosevelt who took it because the French had squandered their money, corruption, the lack of the ability to cooperate. Now, if I understand today, we're talking about a cooperative endeavor. And I mention the cooperation because it's a metaphor for how we lose our way and how we make the connections and what have you. So that, and then I had another rich experience. I'm not the science background person. I was superintendent of schools in New Orleans, and we happened to get one of the $25 million of the National Science Foundation for the 25 big city schools in this country. And so there STEM was all together. It was talking fundamentally about people becoming literate in science, engineering, and math. It was talking about careers, and it was talking about general intelligence of how to live and move. I am under the impression, and I'm thoroughly convinced, that our society, our communities will never move significantly until science moves. It is the, if you want to get away from the theology and all the other stuff, science is, quote, the small God of the world, small G-O-D. Let me be clear. Mine is not blasphemous. Now, Little Rock Public Schools. The Little Rock Public Schools and many schools across the state, many have neglected science for the last several years. The No Child Left Behind we have allowed it to sap the life out of science. I would tell those of you who don't work in the public schools or at schools in general, science has been sapped out of the school system. There has not been a great deal of interest. And you say, not great, it's not being taught. Well, the curriculum is not rich, it's not rigorous. The preparation of teachers is not there. Those that are there. So you see, our being here today represents a real thrust to put science in its rightful place. Mr. Glasgow and I have had a long conversation. He spent this summer at a wonderful institute in, what city was that, Dennis? San Diego. And what I have asked him to do as a ceremonious piece is to call together all of the persons who went, and that we have an evening of socialization. But it has a practical implication, is to talk about science and to announce with our school board a new thrust for science this school year. We will make that announcement. Now, the fact that we have this opportunity, it actually gears us into some meaningful ways to make some connections with knowledge, facilities, with money, cooperation. So this is the reason I'm here today, and I think I am garnering an appreciation. And I simply mean by that some way to see how it connects, and that it's more than just the wordage that we give to science in our school district. This is a new day, I'm hoping, for the Little Rock Public Schools, and a cooperation with UAPB, and of course the Corps of Engineers. Now, the Corps of Engineers, I had the good experience. This is not a selfish piece. As you well know, in New Orleans, the Corps of Engineers is everything. It's everything until they have a hurricane. And we found out that they, too, were not everything. Some things got slipped through. Now, that I don't have an appreciation for. But it's a pleasure to be here. Dr. Davis and Gullen, enjoyed your remarks. Wonderful tale, a story, I suppose that's one that young people can relate to. And then you talked about the great teacher here you had, what have you. Pleasure. We look forward to a corporate relationship, mostly to learn something, learn how to do some stuff, and learn where to get some money, and how to do some curriculum, and how to get some teachers better prepared to teach. I think that's what I'm here for, and I'll learn some more about why I'm here. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you to all of you that have come here. Dr. Davis, thank you for being here. Dr. Benjamin, all of our UAPB faculty and staff that are here, our guests here from the Little Rock School Districts, from Charles Mann, and from Parkview. I know that you all have a separate engagement from here, so we will skip the Q&A portion for that purpose, but we will at this point be adjourned, but I will ask that you stay for a few photos.